let's talk Dominion. This episode was about General Zod wanting to control the Dominion of the Phantom Zone. Apparently, the Kandorians exiled Zod from season 9 after Clark sent them to what was going to be New Krypton. I guess they found him guilty of killing Feora, and they sent him to the Phantom Zone as a punishment. And he somehow merged with the real Phantom Zod, who, was sent there, I don't know, a long time ago by Drell or whatnot. Anywho, I'm just gonna come right out and say it. I don't care about gladiators. The movie was Russell Crowe, the TV shows, Spartacus, whatever. I don't watch it. I'm not into that sort of thing. So I can't say that this episode held my interest in that way. It wasn't bad. I could see what they were trying to do, and I thought they did a good job of it. It's just not my genre of interest. I much would rather see an episode like Booster or Homecoming or Ambush. Something either really funny or interesting or real. The fight sequences, the slow motion was a bit much. And I don't care about Clark getting into fights. Like, I know some people are really like, oh my god, Clark hasn't had a real fight since he fought Titan, and they love that. I didn't care that he didn't fight Doomsday. Like, I don't need to see that. The only time I thought it was really awesome, a fight that Clark had, or not a fight, but in Salvation, when he punched the hell out of Zod, that was awesome. That's like my favorite thing that Clark's ever done in a fighting realm. So that kicked major ass. Like, I mean, Zod, you don't mess with Lois. I mean, that was pretty much the message there. Speaking of Lois, I'm just going to go ahead and go right to the end scene. And I want to talk about Erica Durance because I have gone on record saying I'm not a Lois fan. I mean, I really liked her in season 4, and then 5, 6, and 7, yeah. The show was just like, as far as Lois' character, she could have not been there, to be honest, as far as what I was getting from this writing for her and who they were putting her with and all that crap. Didn't care at all. Not one iota. Except for when she was in scenes with Clark. So in this scene, at the end, I was laying down on my couch, watching, the fights in the Phantom Zone that went on a very, very, very long time. And I didn't care anything about Tess and Lois fighting. When Lois pulled the gun on her, I was like, wow, okay. I didn't think Lois was going to actually do that. Like, I thought she was going to put the gun down at some point, but she was just like, no, you're not leaving my man in the Phantom Zone, and that's that. So, kind of thought that was kind of really cool. And I, very anti-violence, and I hate it when Lois punched that guy in the future in Homecoming when she elbowed that pilot for no damn reason. But this is like, yes, somebody needs to put Tess's ass in line. Especially Lois, after, Tess kidnapped her and tried to rape her memories and shots through it in the head. No, I will never forget it. Okay, so back to what I was saying. I just want to say that I'm not like one of these people who's obsessed with Lois and thinks everything she does is perfect. That's clear. I'm on record. But I have to say that after laying down and watching the rest of the episode, when it got to this final scene, I was just watching, and then when she said that Clark had been gone for 3 weeks, I had to sit up and rewind my DVR for the first time that episode. And then I just watched that scene and I was mesmerized. Like, Erica Durance's acting in that scene was so amazing. Like, honestly, I felt like this is a woman who has had someone that she loves leave for 3 weeks, and she went through so many emotions in that one scene. At the beginning, you see the relief, and then you see like the discomfort when she's trying to explain it to him, and then the sadness, and it was every single thing that I would expect from a scene like that, everything she did with the dialogue, all of her body language, her mannerisms, it was just so perfect. Like I've never seen. I mean, I'm very critical of Erica Durance and Tom Welling, and I criticize their acting when I see that it's not what it should be. But in this scene, I just don't know what else she could have done. And really, honestly, when I was done watching the episode, I thought, if I was Erica Durance's manager or talent agent, this is the scene I would send to people to tell them, you want this girl in your show, you want this woman in your movie. Like, this scene was, to me, so amazing. Like, every single bit of it felt so real, even up to the last moment when she hugged him and she still had tears in her eyes. It was nothing felt false about it. That's what I mean. And it's rare, very rare, that I can watch an entire scene of Smallville or even Clark and Lois where I feel like there wasn't a moment where I thought, they shouldn't have done that. Nothing felt false about what she was doing. I wasn't very keen on Clark smiling so much, and I thought, okay, he's been gone for 3 hours, so I understand he was in a different headspace, and I was just kind of like, oh, he was smiling, but he was happy because they were talking about the wedding. So they were in very different emotional places, so I can't really criticize him for that, because he did so well in the last scene of Booster. Like, the emotional place that he was in that scene was so amazing, and I was so impressed that, this was different. But yeah, so Eric, I gotta give it up. Speaking of acting, because obviously I told you this episode wasn't that interesting in and of itself, Callum Blue. I remember last year one of the reviewers here on YouTube said that Callum Blue was too good for Smallville. And of course, I don't want to say that for all the fans that believe that Smallville is the best show on TV. Bless their hearts. Anyway, what I mean is, Callum Blue is so amazing. I will readily admit, last year I didn't care about Zod. Like, I didn't care about a lot of his storyline. And I fast forward Smallville a lot of times. I can't even imagine someone who watches every scene of every show of Smallville, or anyone who's done that for 10 years. God bless them, because I would not have done it, and I could not have done it. I didn't do it in any season that I've watched, and I've watched 4 through 10 now. But season 9, I fast forwarded pretty much every scene that happened with Tess and Zod. Somebody can tell me if I missed anything. I'm kidding. If Zod was in a scene with Clark, or if Zod was in a scene with Lois or Oliver, I watched all those scenes. Likewise, if Tess was in a scene with Clark or Lois or Oliver or Chloe at the time, I would watch those scenes. But when it was just Tess and Zod, her in the bathtub, I'm fast forwarding, I can see what's happening. I'm poking her. She was wearing like some gray dress and showing everybody the mock-up of like a virtual solar tower. I have no idea what was said in that scene. I still remember it because I was watching their body language. I thought it was funny when he poked her. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So Callum Blue, when I did watch him, like in Pandora, I was blown away. Oh my god, like, there's a scene where he comes up to Lois and he like reaches in her pocket and she looks so afraid, and I was like thinking about that now, like, damn, that is how you do a villain. When he came and he gave her the charm and he was so sweet and he was so suave about it, and just, I love the way he talks. He's awesome. He's like my little poor man's Hugh Jackman, because I think they have similar voices and kind of look alike. Anyway, so Pandora, and then Disciple when he visits Lois, and then when he killed Fiora, wow. I'm just telling you, this man, his acting is riveting. I say that to say, yes, I watched Dominion, I watched all his scenes, and I was just like in awe watching. But then it reminded me of how much Clark Luthor sucked. And I hate to like bring that up. In Luthor, he was fine, those 4 minutes. When he yelled at Tess to get up, I was just like, wow, this is amazing. But then when we come back in Kent, and he's just a stupid ass, overglorified man whore who, I mean, it's like, Lex, Zod, these people want to take over the world. They want to dominate humanity. That is villainous. Clark Luthor wanted to dominate his sister's doppelganger. Yeah, that's pathetic. So, Anyway, enough about how much Clark Luthor sucked and was a waste of airtime. The entirety of Kent, I was just like, damn, you just gotta be better than this. And not, I mean, stalking Tess, wow. What a waste of a character. Let me just rewind. Waste of a character. Unfortunately, I need to talk about Oliver. Justin was in this episode, and I will say this is the first time in 14 episodes of season 10 we've had an episode about Oliver. Justin Harley's been in 14 episodes, and this is the very first time we've had an episode about Oliver. And I know that she was like, oh, Oliver shouldn't be on Smallville anymore, and Green Arrow doesn't belong in Metropolis. Whatever. He's a star on the show. He deserves to have episodes that he's featured in. Why do I say this? Because the first half of the season, he was sitting around bitching and whining and moaning about Chloe. Then Collateral and Beacon and Masquerade and Fortune, he was attached to her hip. So we didn't have episodes about Oliver. We had episodes about Kalali, and all we had was Oliver on this show to pimp Chloe Sullivan. And I think it's rude and offensive, and I'm really, looking back at the season, it makes me angry because Oliver was my favorite character. Was. In season 6, in season 8 and 9, and I've told people, I know, sorry, it wasn't Clark. Clark is the only person whose scenes I've never fast-forwarded. I've watched every single scene of Clark for the last 6 years, or whatever, however many seasons I've watched. Starting in season 8, but I went back and watched 4 through 7. Anyway, yes, Clark is the most important person on the show. I know that. People who don't know it, they're ridiculous. There's no show without Clark. However, the writing for him has sucked for so many years that Oliver was my favorite character because he's the one I enjoyed watching. Did I fast forward Oliver's scenes? Yes. When they had that Think Back episode in season 8 where he's rolling around in the desert and with Tess and eating worms. Not eating worms. I did not watch that episode. I pretty much fast forwarded all of that flashback. Still don't know what happened. Something about them, somebody trying to kill them with a flower. Anyway, so to recap, I do not fast forward Clark's scenes ever. Oliver was my favorite character. Then it brings us to season 10, where he is just crapped on for the sake of Chloe. And it pisses me off that this show cares more about Chloe and Allison Mack, and I don't mean to be rude about these actors, but that the powers that be give so much deference that they want to keep her alive on a damn show that she's not even starring on, that they will have Oliver talk about her all the time. Like, his sole purpose on this damn show is to service Chloe and Allison Mack until she comes back. Like, who does that? Do we get people talking about Pete and Lana every damn episode? No, we don't. It's ludicrous. It is absurd. So I just feel like Justin was wasted this entire season. Good for him having the decency to still be on the show. And not voted in, because when he wasn't whining about Chloe, I can actually enjoy him. And we actually got through a whole episode without Chloe being mentioned by him. Of course, Lois had to toss that in, you know. But Oliver was there in the Phantom Zone. It was Oliver, finally. The Oliver that I love and miss and wish I had seen this entire season. Now I don't even care about Oliver. Like, when he was gone, and Seiken and Booster, whatever the hell the name, Seekin, however you pronounce that, Scion, and Booster and Kent, I didn't miss him, and I didn't care if he ever came back. Like, I'm so done with him. Justin did an amazing job directing. I liked the little old blue that Lois had and all that. Anyway, so basically, Callum did an amazing job acting. Loved Erica. Loved Justin's direction. It was a good episode for him. And finally, I just wanted to go back to the opening scene, and I thought Clark was really funny when he was making fun of Lois's taste in music, and finally we got to see some of that old snarky Clarky back. Oh, how I miss in season 4, how they used to annoy each other. And they were like that in season 8, and, you know, before the crap fest of the middle of season 8, but in season 9 it was just really about Clark trying to convince Lois that they should be together, so they kind of lost that whole bantery thing, but it was hilarious. And I loved it. So I'm really happy. Their new place, and I'm looking forward to next week to see what happens.
My For Better or Worse will include your love of hair metal.